Well, we have the privilege of having Andrew Burditt, our new president of 700 Club Canada. Thank you, Andrew, for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a wonderful privilege to be sitting in this chair as opposed to watching on the other end.
Right, and I'm actually glad to have a live person in the studio with me. I have to say, we've done so many interviews on Zoom, but just tell us, Andrew, what led you to join 700 Club Canada as now our new president?
It's a great question, and I think I'll expand on the answer, but the simplest way to start is to say God. I've worked in the not-for-profit sector for about 21 years in a variety of different roles. And when I was looking for what would kind of be my next adventure, my next challenge, I started looking at all the normal places, right? I started looking at the typical health-related charities that one would work for, et cetera. But I had always felt, I worked for the Salvation Army for about 14 years, and I had always felt very much led to go back into a faith environment. This opportunity presented itself. I took advantage of it, and I was fortunate enough to be the successful candidate, and I'm now sitting here with you.
Well, we're really glad you're here. We're really glad that you were the successful candidate. And you've had an interesting career track, and you've had some interesting experiences, like you've mentioned Salvation Army. How have some of the things you've done helped you perhaps in this new role?
Interesting career path is a great descriptor, I suppose. I think you know this, I actually have 2 music degrees. So I'm formally trained to play trumpet in an orchestra.
So awesome.
So that's certainly not what I do these days, which is fascinating. But I think there's probably 2 things that kind of have led me to really think about how I can use those experiences in this job and in this ministry. Music is actually one. You play concerts, you talk to people. And when I would do that, I would have the opportunity to kind of work my own journey of faith in there. You know, they would want to know what got you into music, and I would talk about my upbringing. And then I think another one would be during my time with the Salvation Army, we would visit a lot of facilities that the Salvation Army ran. And time again, you see people who are suffering, people who are marginalized and hurting. And the reality that keeps coming back to you day after day is these people need Jesus. These people need a relationship with him. And now, you know, in this role, with a great team, we have the opportunity to convince people to look at that and enter into a relationship with him. Yeah,
you know what? That drives me too in this ministry. People have such a need, and we know we have the answer.
Absolutely.
Right? And his name is Jesus. So how does your faith then impact your desire to lead 700 Club Canada?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think faith is important. Faith is obviously important, and through the variety of roles and journeys in my life, I've had the privilege of making lots of friends. And many of those friends are inside the church. Many of those friends are outside of the church. And, you know, I go back to what I said about seeing people in previous roles who are hurting. Many of your friends are hurting, right? And many of your friends are needing to enter into that relationship. And you said that's what drives you. That's what drives me. The older I get, the more I realize how important it is to take advantage of the opportunity to share the message of the gospel with them. And this provides that opportunity on a much bigger and grander scale.
I mean, television's kind of a new thing in some ways for both of us, right? I mean, I got into it and thought, I don't know what I'm doing. But the point is, God's helped me, and he's going to help you. And we're so glad that you're here. And, you know, it's a time for leadership, isn't it, in our nation? But what's something maybe exciting that we can anticipate as we look forward for the 700 Club Canada?
So I'll answer that question by probably starting with a piece of scripture, which is, you know, everybody's familiar with Jeremiah 29, verse 11, for I know the plans I have for you. But the thing that really sticks out to me time and time again about that verse is the fact that the word plan is plural, which everybody focuses on. What is the plan for my life? But he says, I have plans, plural, for you, which means, you know, there's multiple different ways that life can go. And I kind of equate that to the 700 Club. So you ask me what's in store? I would say big things. That's what I anticipate, big things. Television is something that we will continue to focus on because we have this effort and this mass communication ability through television to share the good news. But technology keeps advancing at such a rapid pace that we need to take advantage of that and find a way to reach different segments of the population, reach those that are younger, reach those that might not have been exposed to the message of his love, and take advantage of everything that is at our fingertips. We belong to a global organization. Those resources are there.
Yeah.
And I think, as we start to look at what that looks like in terms of long-term planning, I think God will reveal what those plans, plural, are for the 700 Club.
Well, I love that. I think our nation is in need, Andrew, and you come with a heart to address the need and to love people. I spend enough time with you, and I'm like, he loves people, and that's really important because we're in the ministry of people, right?
Absolutely.
And thank you for your leadership. We look forward to what God will do in our ministry, don't we?
We do. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege.
Yeah. Well,
really
thank you for being here again. I bless you. And for those who are watching, would you pray for Andrew, pray for our ministry as we just want to do all that God has planned for us, right?